You know, there's not a chance that Anthony Joshua is not going to just lose the weight beforehand. He's not going to come in drained. What he's going to do is just do extra cardio, and that's just going to make him more dangerous. He's going to be terrifying, and he's going to have a lot to prove. He's going to be very angry that Jake Paul wants to fight him. Very upset that this YouTuber who's fought Tommy Fury, who's a legit boxer, and, you know, a couple other guys that were legit boxers. That's it. Like, everyone else he's fought Ben Askren, who's really a wrestler. You know, he fought Tyron Woodley, who was an elite MMA fighter, but, you know, not an elite boxer. He fought Nate Robinson, who was a basketball player. At least he's fought these guys. He fought Anderson Silva, and he dropped Anderson Silva, and Anderson Silva's a really good striker, but also in his 40s, you know, different time.
If he wins, people are still going to say, well, you only beat Jake Paul, right? The man that lost to Tommy Fury, after all, right? That's the only loss in his record, Tommy Fury. You're telling me that Tommy Fury is going to beat him, and then Anthony Joshua's not going to beat him? Can you imagine? That would be the biggest downfall of any.
Joe Rogan expressed his frustration about the upcoming Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul fight, while Frank Martin said he no longer views Jake Paul as merely a YouTuber because he's made significant progress, but going up against a lifelong professional like Anthony Joshua is an entirely different level of challenge.
I consider Jake now, you know, I wouldn't consider him like a YouTube fighter no more. You know, I feel like he put in the time, he gotten better throughout like all his fights, like he done got better throughout all those fights, you know. But it's still like when you fighting like fighters who actually like done it for like their life, their whole life, it's a little different. You know, if that fight happened, it'll be a good money fight. It'll be a good money fight. But that's a tough task for, you know what I'm saying, Jake going to get that big ass heavyweight AJ. You know, I know AJ personally, you know, so that's a tough task. And
Moreover, Ben Whitaker gave credit to Jake Paul, applauding him for taking on tougher fights, pointing out that he's faced former UFC fighters, ex-champions, and even called out Gervonta Davis.
It's Jake Paul, man. He's even his UFC fights, he's been fighting the fighters. They're ex-champions, so that's a decent category. He went to Gervonta Davis, active fighter, world champion, good fighter. Then he's gone to this big, massive AJ. Fair play to him. I think what he's doing is crazy, but it's good for the sport. And hopefully there's some rule where they don't get hit too hard, because if it's anything like that, Ngannou won.
Fair play to Jake Paul. Man, he's even taken on UFC fighters, facing top-level competition and former champions. So that's a solid category. Then he went after Gervonta Davis, an active fighter and world champion, a strong opponent. And now he's stepping up to this massive challenge. Fair play to him. I think what he's doing is wild, but it's good for the sport. And hopefully there's some rule to prevent them from taking too hard hits. Because if it's anything like that one, it could get dangerous.
One of the absolute scariest knockout artists in the heavyweight division. Maybe we should watch the Francis Ngannou fight so you could see. Let's watch that real quick, just so you can see what Anthony Joshua is capable if he's fighting someone that's not in his league. Okay, look, Usyk beat him, and he beat him twice, and Andy Ruiz caught him in the first fight and dropped him and stopped him. It was spectacular. Andy Ruiz is super fucking talented. Usyk is perhaps the greatest heavyweight boxer of all time. Maybe one of the greatest of all time in any weight class. Usyk. You know, and Usyk beat him, and he beat him twice. The fact that Jake Paul wants to fight that guy, hey, I'll watch. I'm gonna watch. I'm definitely gonna watch. So you got me there. And if you want to show you're legit by taking on one of the scariest
However, Joe Rogan mentioned that if Jake Paul faces Joshua, he would be up against one of the most terrifying knockout punchers. And the new fight demonstrates just how dangerous Joshua can be against anyone below his caliber.
Wins, people are still going to say, well, you only beat Jake Paul, right? The man that lost to Tommy Fury, after all, right? That's the only loss in his record, Tommy Fury. You're telling me that Tommy Fury is going to beat him, and then Anthony Joshua's not going to beat him? Can you imagine? That would be the biggest downfall of any boxer's career. The reality is, He's not going to lose. There is no way on this earth that Jake Paul can beat Anthony Joshua in a boxing match. That's just a fact, okay? Look at what he did to Francis Ngannou. Francis Ngannou hits as hard as a Ford Escort, going 100 miles an hour or whatever that stat was. He was the UFC heavyweight champion of the world, goes up against Anthony Joshua and gets flatlined. So to stand there and think that Jake Paul, who's much, much smaller, who has way less experience, that doesn't weigh anything near him, is going to have a chance. Talking about an Olympic gold.
Furthermore, Adipo joked that the moment the referee calls them to the center, Joshua would instantly step back, suggesting the fight could be over almost immediately because of the massive mismatch.
Oh, don't count him out. I think that's a very dangerous fight for Jake Paul. But at the end of the day, we could have a big upset, But I think that AJ is too much for Jake Paul at this point, and he's bigger than Jake Paul, in my opinion.
Do you think it's competitive? A lot of people are saying if AJ doesn't get him out of there in 2 rounds, it'll be a huge embarrassment.
I don't think that's not the case, that he's gonna get Jake Paul. At the end of the day, Jake Paul has been training hard too, and he's a pretty good fighter. I don't think he would take him out in 2-3 rounds. I think maybe in the later rounds, or he might go to decision, but I don't think that Jake Paul can take AJ out. I mean, or AJ could take Jake Paul. Maybe, but I don't know. It's just going to be an exciting fight. I think I want to see that fight.
Final predictions for the fight. AJ will begin. The referee will call. Come to the center of the ring. AJ will step back, then move in and knock out Jake Paul in roughly 45 seconds.
He believes in himself enough to do it on a massive scale, because it's not about the money. He's got enough money. This is him wanting to push the boundaries of reality. He's manifested an amazing life for himself. He's a superstar, and I think he wants to try and do the unthinkable. He wants to. It's an insane challenge he's put himself up for, but you got to give him credit.
Jose Benavidez noted that people shouldn't underestimate Jake Paul, saying the matchup poses real danger for him and could even result in an unexpected outcome.
Jake Paul, Joshua.
Oh, Jesus. That's a fucking bad idea. That's a bad idea. But let me tell you what, a lot of people watch that one.
Will you watch it?
Sure. You know what everybody's tuning in for on that one. Then I think everybody's going to get what they finally been waiting for.
David Hay said he respects Jake Paul for stepping into a situation with real risk, because boxing is unforgiving and can cause serious injury or even worse.
If I can beat Jake Paul, then excuse my French, what the fuck is Anthony Joshua going to do to Jake Paul? I think my dad said that AJ could beat him with his prick, and I completely will back that up. Even if AJ had a broken arm in there, it still wouldn't go past a minute. To be quite honest with you, and as a safety aspect, there's no way that fight can go ahead. At the end of the day, my God, how good does it make me look? He gets beat by Jake Paul. Well, that automatically makes me 2-time heavyweight champion of the world, doesn't it? There's no proper way. I've got to laugh about it. How are we even talking about this? He got his nut boxed off by me a little over 2 years ago, and now all of a sudden he's talking about fighting Anthony Joshua. It's like, come on, like you can't be serious. He can't beat me. I'm not Anthony Joshua, am I? So it's just ludicrous. It really.
Dana White remarked that Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua is a terrible matchup, but one that would draw massive viewership.
I don't believe it. I don't believe a single thing until I see him in the ring. I don't believe any. Even if they come together for a press, I don't believe it. I don't genuinely believe he will climb into a boxing ring with 10-ounce gloves on with Anthony Joshua. It won't happen. It can't.
Hypothetically, if it does, how long does it last?
As long as Josh wants it to. Simple as that. As long as he wants it to. The same way it did with Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor. The same way it did with Anthony Joshua and Francis Ngannou.
Tommy Fury said that since he managed to beat Jake Paul, it should be clear what Anthony Joshua would do.
Well, my thoughts on it is that Jake Paul's had a lot of accusations over the years for a guy who's had no amateur fights. What's he had, about 10 or 12 fights? I'm not sure what he's had. And, you look at the opposition he's had, and people saying, when's he going to fight somebody? He stepped up. He's stepping up to a 2-time world champion, a genuine heavyweight, a proper heavyweight champion, and an active fighter. And this is a big moment for him, and you got to take your hat off to him for that. As regarding AJ, I'm sure AJ's wants a fight back after that. unbelievable loss he had against Daniel Dubois. Which is quite an emphatic loss. He wants to come back, get himself, dip his toe in the water. He's going to get paid a lot of money for this. This fight's going to generate a lot of money because for me, it's a fighter. Jake Paul's going to be a massive underdog against a big favourite, a big odds-on favourite. Can he do it or not? This is a car crash. And people will watch it because that's what people do at car crashes. And that's what this